Are you a channel surfer? Just a few decades ago, this wasn't possible, but now we find ourselves with a plethora of channels to choose from. Hi class, my name is Katherine Carson, and I'll be presenting Chapter 7 of our text, which deals with the study of multi-channel television services. Multi-channel television services include cable television, direct broadcast satellite services, pay television services, as well as Internet Protocol television. Most of us are familiar with cable television services, which is programming delivered to us via a coaxial or hybrid fiber optics cable system, or a combination of both. It includes an in-house cable box that receives the signal, and you pay a subscription fee for such services. The majority of multi-channel television subscribers are cable. In fact, as of December 2011, the National Cable and Telecommunications Association reported 44.4% of total household penetration. And at that time, that equaled about 58 million subscribers in the United States. Direct broadcast satellite users receive the same broadcasting, but it's coming from a small satellite dish or a small set-top receiver connected to their television, which many of us have. Direct broadcast satellite can reach into remote locations, whereas cabling is difficult to get into some of those areas. Pay television services are available on both of these platforms, both cable and satellite. And they include premium or paid-for channels, or special on-demand or pay-per-view programming. These types of channels may include things like HBO, Stars, movie channels, sports events, and that kind of thing. So Internet Protocol television will be something that's discussed in greater detail from another student from Chapter 8, but it's important for us to remember that Internet Protocol television is a rapidly growing segment, especially in the United States and really globally. Many traditional multi-channel users are choosing to what they call cut the cord on traditional television viewing and opt for services that stream video or television via the internet through services like Netflix, Hulu, YouTube, and Amazon. Let's briefly talk about the origins of multi-channel television services. The early years followed by information on the growth of multi-channel television, and then we'll talk about the upgrades and the advancements that came throughout those years. Cable television has been around since the time televisions were introduced, which we learned previously were in the 1940s and 50s. That was really when they started to penetrate into the homes more rapidly. At that time, there was a limited amount of broadcasting available. There were only a few channels to choose from at that point. So there's really not a whole lot to watch. Therefore, the community antenna television was established. You may remember the antennas. You may have even had one yourself. So with an antenna, consumers were able to pick up other stations besides those in the local market. So this opened up the door for more choices. And of course, the FCC limited the importation of those distant channels because of concerns from broadcasters and the film industry. But in 1972, the FCC loosened their restrictions a bit, and HBO actually became the first premium channel to be offered to cable companies around the world via satellite. As you may have suspected, the use of satellites to deliver these types of cable networks was a total game changer for television. It introduced so many new channels to consumers, and they were no longer limited to just those few to choose from. So the FCC got involved again. They created the Cable Communications Act of 1984, which allowed cable companies to increase rates without government approval. With increased rates, cable companies were able to expand their services and upgrade their technology, but consumers experienced the doubling of expenses really from 1984 to 1992. They doubled to have cable to come to your home. And so consumers really started to feel the expense of that. So the Cable Act regulated basic cable rates, which helped with that. Direct broadcast satellite didn't see success quite as swiftly as cable. Several attempts were made to offer direct-to-home satellite services, but satellite companies were running into several problems. The satellite companies' problems consist of things like they couldn't offer the same amount of channels as cable television could. Operators were unable to obtain the programming that customers wanted. There were no acceptable digital video compression standards. And cable programming companies saw direct-to-broadcast satellite companies as their direct competition, and so they wouldn't offer them programming. Fortunately, in the early 1990s, advancements were made and these problems were resolved. So in 1994, DirecTV and USSB were the first to launch services. It wasn't until the Satellite Home Viewer Improvement Act of 1997, which allowed the DBS companies to pick up local channels, did cable television start to feel true competition from these satellite services. Pay television services weren't developing at the same success rate as cable and satellite services were. Consumers loved HBO and other similar competitors like HBO. They loved the pay-per-view, but it had failed to gain as much traction. Some reasons for this were because pay-per-view had several limitations, such as limited availability, limited start times, as well as the inability to pause, rewind, fast forward. So by the time movies were available, they were also available for rent at the local rental houses, Blockbuster and those types of things. And they were sometimes cheaper and easier to get a hold of. So they didn't really see as big of a success right away with these pay television services. Eventually, though, direct broadcast satellites started to offer some of the advancements that were lacking with pay-per-view through their video on demand and their DVR services. This was due to some of the digital upgrades and advancements that came from switching from that coax to the hybrid fiber coax, as well as many of the digital upgrades that came. Cable systems could now offer high-definition programming, DVR, video on demand, as well as internet and telephone. Video, broadband, and telephone services became to be known as the triple play feature. You may have heard that advertised, the triple play, which is the video, the broadband internet, and the telephone service. These digital advancements also offered consumers more premium channel options. So no longer were there a few, there were hundreds available of channels. As an example, no longer did you have just one ESPN. You could get what they call the multiplex option, which included ESPN2, ESPN Classic, ESPNU, ESPN News, and then there was even an ESPN 3D programming for people who owned a 3D television. So there were just so many options that came on the scene. Multi-channel television providers are using different strategies to offer these internet video and television to consumers through the PC or the personal computer. To TV media relay offered by Cablevision started in 2010. Many television providers are trying to avoid consumers totally forgetting or foregoing their cable or satellite options or cutting the cord for purely internet viewing, which is starting to happen. It's starting to be a trend. Streaming options are offered, and they're expanding coverage with these companies are doing a package deal to avoid some of the cutting of the cord. Mobile services are also growing in popularity with the rapidly growing rate of mobile device use. So you can stream TV through your mobile phone or your tablet, that kind of thing. As an example of this, Verizon has Vcast mobile TV services. Popular program is also available to download to your mobile device through websites and mobile apps. An example of that would be if you go to the abc.com homepage, you'll find many popular television channels that are available to download and watch through your mobile devices. As more and more advancements in technology are being made, competition is growing among multi-channel television service providers. These service providers are offering a plethora of new options to stay on top of this competition. Some of these options include things such as Dish's DVR the Hopper, which is a whole home DVR that allows 6 television sets to access the DVR at one time. Dish also offers what they call TV Everywhere, which allows viewers to watch from any device anywhere, regardless of location. Again, the mobile devices, the tablets, that kind of thing, can access TV programming channels everywhere. Comcast is another example that offers what they call their Xfinity Fancast service and what they call StreamPix. StreamPix is kind of similar to Netflix, if you're familiar with that. Time Warner Cable is another example. They offer their TWC mobile app, which you can download, and it allows subscribers to watch their programmings through their smartphones or their tablets through the app. And then the last example, DirecTV offers DirecTV Everywhere services, which is exactly the same kind of thing. You can watch channels everywhere. Internet distribution will continue to grow and expand, and we'll only see more channels offered in the future. And cutting the cord is going to truly become a popular trend that we'll see moving forward. There will continue to be studies, there will continue to be regulation from the good old FCC for cable and satellite providers, but it's unclear how much regulation will affect what's being offered via the internet because the laws from the FCC, as we've learned in previous chapters, really have come through radio broadcast and television, but the internet is kind of a new world in some ways, and so the FCC is really trying to study and come up with a clear way to regulate some of those things. These are certainly factors for us to watch in the future. As of 2012, cable television was still leading the market in multi-channel television services. So most people are still connecting via cable television. But digital broadcast satellite and internet protocol television have actually doubled in popularity between 2009 and 2012. And even today, I'm sure the statistics weren't available in our book, but we could go online and find that internet TV and the satellite TV is really gaining much popularity from cable. But cable still seems to be the number one choice. As the public continues to be presented with more and more technological advancements in regards to these television services, what do you anticipate being the next big thing? And what works for you and for your family, and why? For us and my family, I think that internet television has been really good for us, and we use Netflix a lot at our home. It works well because we live in my husband and I have a very hectic lifestyle. We both work very demanding jobs, and so at the end of the day, it's easier for us to have the flexibility to choose the time and what we want to watch through those things, and to stop them and pick up on them, a few days later. It is also helpful for us as we try to live a godly lifestyle because we really want to make wise choices about what we are watching in our home. And so through internet streaming, we're able to get a little information before we put it on our television set, and we can find out the rating, or we can find out the reviews and that kind of thing. We can choose to watch family-friendly animated movies, or have the flexibility to turn things off or rewind them. And so it's been very helpful for our family. I hope this was helpful, and if you have any questions, please feel free to ask. And I can't wait to hear your responses from the question.